Hello. So I've decided that regarding this new device, I am going to start with the intention of I'm actually not going to be adding any personal advice. Hopefully, it may come out of my mouth that way. Not my intention. Road to hell, paved with it, right? But what I want to do is draw on the potential energies. So what is possible from this point forward? I really like the way this is starting. Here's judgment in reverse. So the opportunity to I'm just going to say it. In my family, some of us curse quite a bit. We could turn the air blue when we get mad, but this is my give a fuckometer not working anymore because I don't want it to. Right. So here's rest of the Holy Spirit, which is basically why I'm tired of judgment. I realized earlier something that if I had realized back in college, my whole life might be different right now, but it was just that the only reason why I dislike politics is not because of what they do, what they talk about, or how they function. All of those things are very day-to-day. We're all two-faced. We all speak out of both sides of our mouths. Not everybody is going to like you. Those are facts of life, right? But what is not a fact of life is the disruption of balance. And the thing I don't like about this disruption of balance within politics in specific is the manipulation of intuition, of people's psyche, of the very fabric with which we have already sewn the clothing of all the humans that are walking around on the planet right now. So when you think about the Emperor's New Clothes, when you think about fear and loathing, I almost said clothing, which there's very little of, in Las Vegas, this is it. This is the penultimate. I'm not going to judge you, but I am going to just put this to rest. I don't need to go into detail about how people feel about sex workers, prostitutes, women who are promiscuous voluntarily. There's so many different judgments. We've got quantification based off of numbers, off of, what kind of loyalty, it's extensive, right? The point is that we want to get balance between having no judgment, being at peace, live and let live is what I'm hearing, and coming to a balance in life with that, knowing that the only person that you can control is yourself. As badly as you may want women to stop fornicating with men or men to stop copulating with women, those are not necessarily facts of life. So this need for a rest, for balance and a rest. Sorry, when I flip the cards, they go backwards in the camera, so I gotta reorganize. Anyway, you get what I mean. Of course you want to have balance when you're at rest spiritually. But when you're at rest spiritually, balance is the single most difficult thing to obtain. Why? Because of the judgment. Because of other people's judgment. Because of the fact that there are always going to be somebody who thinks that they can tell you how you should live your life better than you know how to naturally anyway. It's kind of like nobody teaches animals how to be animals, but they just come out of the womb knowing how. Same difference here. There are some people that come out of the womb knowing about intuition, understanding a connection with a higher power that they don't have to explain to you. If you don't believe in a higher power at all, you are completely entitled to that opinion. That is also valid. Whether I agree with you, irrelevant, right? So this intuition, this is the potential. So if we had the potential energy as a species to possess the power of ESP, right? So I don't even have to speak and I can just telepathically speak with you. Is that something you would want? Because it takes a lot of this intuition. And intuition is something that you can sharpen on purpose. It's a skill set that you are able to develop over time, but you have to drop. Look, when we talk about developing one's character, the way you react to something is actually way more indicative of who you are. Right? Than the things that you do in a certain way. Because your reaction is reflecting to us your intellectual, emotional state of mind. So if I act really triggered so that you'll be triggered, I now obtain information from you. If it's the other way around, the power dynamic switches. When there's judgment present, there is no rest. There is no Holy Spirit. There is no peace of mind. That's what judgment does. It puts you under scrutiny. Do you know what a actual magnifying glass can do under the rays of the sun to any little thing it wants to focus on? It scorches the earth. Just burns the living daylight out of the earth. Try it. Use a pair of spectacles, like glasses, or use a magnifying glass. Bust out a lens from a camera or bust out a lens from a telescope. They all do the same thing. Anything under scrutiny to the umpteenth level on every tiny little incy beansy, like I'm just seeing the teensy weensy spider climbed up that's what I'm seeing right here is like, if you're gonna judge the spider as being scary and smash it and kill it, or if you're gonna judge the spider for wanting to elevate above the water level that is steady rising, especially if it's raining constantly, you know, that's a form of rest. It's a form of peace of mind for the spider. And honestly, if it's crawling up and away from you, why are you worried about it? The balance, you not having to scream, you not having to freak out or have a mental block against this insect, that's the balance that we're going for. Do not judge the spider for being a spider. It did not necessarily choose to be born that way, just like you didn't necessarily choose to be born to the life that you live. It's just it's the hand you were dealt. Do you think that disabled people or people experiencing a disability, do you think that they would choose to be disabled if they had a choice? Do you think that people experiencing homelessness would choose to experience being homeless if they had a choice? Do you think that people experiencing mental disabilities that you cannot physically see, do you think they choose that world and that life for themselves? Or do you see that there may be a discrepancy between the two? that what the hand you're dealt is not guaranteed to you, and neither is tomorrow. One thing's for certain, you've already been born. Two things for sure, you're going to die. What did I just say? The only reason I can tell you that this death card is upside down is because every day that you wake up and you take a breath and you have a roof over your head, food in your stomach, even one person, yourself, by the way, I'm just going to add that as a side caveat, it's yourself. If you don't love or have one person that loves you, that's when your life ends. You could still be living. I'm not talking about literally. I'm talking about literally that peace of mind, the rest of the picture, the rest of the story, the rest of your life is instantly affected when your peace of mind is affected. So I'll say it again. I've said it 1,000 times before. People who decide to stay married in relationships that are 100% destructive and completely turbulent. You come to a point where you have to ask yourself, is this doing any good for me, my own self-esteem, or the person that I'm with? And if the answer is no, then that's it. You don't have to have bad feelings. You don't have to have, yeah, you probably will, just to be honest. I know I certainly do, but I also just get over it. Like, it just isn't that serious. There have been certain situations in my life, yeah, where I've been completely exhausted. I had no self-esteem, and I wasn't tired of fighting for that same outcome of just losing myself, not having any bearing on who I am and why I am here. I've done that before. It's usually when I'm completely overwhelmed by other people's needs, though. This lack of solitude, this is the understanding that your self-esteem cannot ever come to this exhaustion card is the rest. I don't know where I just put that. The rest of the Holy Spirit. I don't like saying Holy Spirit because I'm not really religious, but I'm just trying to say that it's the rest of your mentality. It's the gust of wind through your brain that makes you have an idea. And it's the ability to sit with that by yourself in solitude. Do you see that tree is in the upright when it's in solitude? But when it's with other people, it automatically has to be upside down. Has to hang out upside down, staring at all these people. Why? Because trees convert carbon dioxide into oxygen again. Which, as useless as you may think that is, the memory of a tree, the sap. Think about that. Think about the syrup, maple syrup that comes from the sap of a tree. That is the blood life line. It is the essence of the tree itself. Think about your family tree. There is a parting of ways that is so healthy in that specific circumstance. If your family tree does not branch, you have a problem on your hands. And it's not one that anyone or any intuition can help you with. That's kind of my point. I'm going to switch decks. We're going to go over to, this is the All-Seeing Eye of Ra deck. Doesn't want to go together. The growth of love. Yeah, doesn't want to go together right now for some reason. Let me see what reason that is, please. Since we are literally talking about the intuition needed or the potential going forward with whatever device, vice, or, it's whatever we've preserved in ourselves as a vendetta, what needs to come forward. Okay, those things that were not a gift. I do just want to say that instantly when I saw this, I flashed on the intuition card that was at the top of the reading just now. There's something about, the knowledge. I'm also belching involuntarily, but I'm sorry, excuse me. There's something like almost stomach turning about the inability to access your intuition, your free will, your discernment. These are the things that help you define your own personality. So when you're creating something, let's just say with clay, right? Or Play-Doh, right? Same difference. We're molding something into a specific shape and form. And while we're whittling away at all of those different nooks and crannies of the personality of this figurine that we're creating, there are going to be some flaws that either we perceive in this whittling away, or that the person who we are depicting is going to see in themselves. So, for example, when they made any movie, really, into a memoir or an autobiography for people, everybody has a really serious criticism of the actors, the way they portrayed the original person. So if this was like the Whitney Houston story, or the Princess Diana story, or whatever story you want to talk about that they've made into a movie, the story about Aaliyah's autobiography, people are going to be upset about the cohesion. You cannot be somebody that you are not any more than somebody that is not you can be you. So any information in between is actually deterring from your intellectual ability to have an autonomous, unique quality that other people could appreciate if they were also autonomous and unique. Yeah. Autonomous and unique goes with autonomous and unique. It's weird when you think about magnetism of humans versus magnets themselves, as in the positive and the positive, they repel each other. The negative and the negative, they repel each other. The opposites attract, right? That's perhaps the case in physics. In relationships with one another, the tendency to trauma bond, or the tendency to find somebody who can relate, and I do mean that relatively, who can relate with the destitute nature of things, that's more likely. And it is unfortunate. And some people are healed enough to be aware of the way they go about choosing a partner. What I'm seeing here is that the potential here is to choose to go forward with the knowledge of both the things that have been a gift as well as the things that have not been a gift. I always say that knowing what you don't want is equally as, yeah, these all came out as a chunk. It was like half the deck just fell out. Equally as important as knowing what you love. Knowing what you do want. Knowing what you do want is commiserate with creating or manifesting that. If you say that you want love, but what you really want is sex, you're going to have a problem getting there. Something will happen. I don't know what it is. It's individual. If you say that you want love, but you have bad intentions, that will be pointed out to everybody who genuinely did want love, who showed up for love, not for anything outside of this knowledge of how to move forward. This is like knowing how, I'm just seeing hunters in the wood, knowing how to track an animal, knowing its scatological patterns, its literal movements through the woods, its eating habits, its preferences in mate, its proclivity towards fight or flight. These are all pieces of information. And when used in a uplifting, positive way, they can be really empowering. This is the intuition that tells you, I don't even need to have a memory if there's a collective memory already available, where I can simply pull bits and pieces from this string of information, this strain of data from air, from nothing, from this physical air that is between my camera and I. When you can manifest like that, when you can create your own path, this is the path unbeaten. Most people won't bother to go look for the information themselves. And even if they did have the desire to do that, they won't actually go do it. There are a lot of people like that. There are a lot of people that say, oh, I want to travel, I want to see the world. And as soon as they have an opportunity, their response is, well, America is the greatest country in the world. Why would I need to step outside of America? It's your choice. You don't have to. Nobody's going to force you. This was never supposed to be a defensive conversation. You were just invited to go somewhere that you've never been before, which could light a fire or a passion in you. You could understand a perspective or a viewpoint that you did not understand before. But instead of going there, you're simply going to say, oh, well, I have that passion where I am. That passion should be to understand more. That's what intuition is. Intuition is the passionate desire, long-term, not short-term, desire to obtain, to explore, and to question, to share, to underpin, underscore, understand. I just want to say under. This is not water under the bridge. That is not what's happening here. This is knowledge under the bridge. This is the idea of homelessness existing. This is the idea of poverty. These are quintessential human rights that need to be addressed immediately. And if they're not, then this idea of having an intuitively knowledgeable future is completely moot. Why are we even having the conversation? Why are we experimenting to figure out our technological capacity if it is not for positive? If it is not for good? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Most authors who have ever written anything at all, even if they didn't even want to write anything, for example, they know what writer's block feels like because they've already understood that free flow of informational thought, where ideas are being pulled out of thin air, congealed onto one page, and the rest is still unwritten. That's where the passion comes in. So if you have a blank slate in front of you, are you going to write something on it, or are you just going to admire the fact that it is completely clean? Me personally, I've always been a very dirty chalkboard kind of girl. I really like to see the teacher have passion for what they're teaching. Paris in the spring. At first, you're not going to see the repetition of the word the because it is so mundane. When you turn it over, when you have a teacher that has passion for expressing the unseen knowledge, the unseen aspects of the world as we know it, that is when you are going to actually have made an impact. Why do you need contact lists full of people when you could make a real impact on one person? Maybe you saved one person's life in your entire existence. Is that enough? Because to me, if I know I'm a mother, if I know I'm a decent human, if I save one person this whole time I'm alive, I did something. I was here. I existed. And I pray to God it was a child. I pray to God it was a child, okay? I mean, it's great if I change some grown people's lives. That's also wonderful, right? But a child has the time, the energy, the effort, and the stamina, the passion, the desire to perpetuate that legacy, which is why I'm more interested in figuring out what mentality brought us here to this now of not really having this gift of knowledgeable path forward. We have all the passion, all the technology, we are the greatest country. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no reason that we couldn't be advancing right now outside of we must not want to, or it's more entertaining to stay damaged. Yeah, I said it. It's more entertaining tonight. Like this evening will be more entertaining if we just damage each other. That is now, instead of Renaissance thinking and upworthy news channels, etc., yeah. If we're going to use the passion of the Christ to perform the Inquisition, or if we're going to use the teachings of the Buddha in order to ridicule one another for experiencing homelessness purposely, if we're going to actually abuse Moses's ability to part the Red Sea so that everything can just be black and white and red all over. Do you understand what I mean? That the repetition has become monotonous and useless. I actually do spend a lot of time just scrolling. Mostly because the Dead Sea Scrolls are kind of personal for me, but also because I don't really see a difference sometimes. And this is no criticism. This is literally just an observation, but it is the observation that needs to be observed right now. Yeah. Here's appreciation. I usually see one of 3 topics on my phone. It's usually politics, gender studies of some type, like let's talk about LGBTQ, like all the time that comes up on my phone, or romance and relationships. So if we're going to boil our entire existence down to the top 3 items that we want to appreciate and grow, like I'm talking about appreciation as in like a profit margin, or appreciate as in a piece of real estate, or perhaps an education, since those are the only 2 things that actually do appreciate and value after purchasing them. This has become almost a moot point. People do not want to move into the mindset of being independent. They don't want to move into the mindset of being discerning. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be questioned. They don't, like, these are the same problems that we had when we had the Inquisition, and when we had, I mean, that this is the poll has 2 sides, right? The Democratic and the Republican for us in America. We're not going to talk about Thatcherism today. That's a whole nother can of worms. My point is, it's polarizing. I don't have a problem with politics. I have a problem with polarized humans who no longer think for themselves, who no longer act like decent individuals. Yeah, here's competition coming out. Yeah, nothing else flipped, but competition definitely flipped out. This is another division between human beings. It's number 17, by the way, competition. You can see there's all of these gods just watching this map where these 2 people are literally going at it. This is like a game of hungry hippos. I love hippos, trust me. But hungry hippos, that eat each other, they don't really do that. It's not real. They don't really compete with each other because they don't try to eat each other's babies. Like, you would think that would be really obvious, but I mean, humans do it all the time. We go to war against women and children constantly. Yeah, that's why this creativity comes from the competition, which is why they try to keep the competition going. It's so that they can have bravado when it comes to... I just want to show you this because I actually never registered until just now that these are the same ancestors. Look. This is the competition card, and you can see these really large, giant entities towering over the countryside. Okay? In this case, it's this little tiny man walking up this path. And in this case, these 2 are in a ring playing tug of war with a rope. These are the same ancestors. The part that I think the world was left out of here, if this was, because these are the same color. These are cards are kind of twinning, if you will. What they forgot to tell you about this competition of bravado, who can speak louder, who can have a bigger presence, who's more, like boisterous and flamboyant. If you don't have creativity, you see that upside down rainbow? If this was a piece of vital information in like a tower moment, right? The entire purpose was the creativity, and you missed it. Yeah, here's pleasure on the bottom of the deck. So like I was telling you, real intuition is a pleasure because it's creative, it's expansive, it's completely immersive. There are a lot of uncomfortable moments that turn into really beautiful ones. If you have the patience, the wherewithal, and the strength of personality. If not, this is what it turns into. This is why the political scene for me is difficult. I really don't like being belittled, shouted at, lied upon, or discredited. Those are things that most people don't like. I like to keep the integrity of my world mostly creative, which is the in-between. It's happiness to some people, it's unhappiness to other people who cannot see that there is a third cubit. Did you know that pine cones, they can't actually open properly or seed themselves on the earth without fire? So that one pine tree that is your favorite pine tree, it's actually banking on the fact that it's going to catch on fire someday. Like, fingers crossed. I just want you to think about that, because there are people, places, and things whose entire essence, the sap or the blood, sweat, and tears of their life cannot be seen in the spaces that have already been left between the tower moments that have been vital for us all. It's not just one person, it's not just two people, it is an entire faction. Sounds so divergent right now, but whatever. This is buckwheat coming out. King of buckwheat. I guess what this is, I don't know why, but I'm just hearing Nuck If You Buck. That song, Nuck If You Buck. This is bravado and competition. That is knucking when you buck. That is popping off. I'm also hearing Hurricane Chris. Everybody got a little ratchet in them. Everybody got a little ratchet in them. That's basically just acknowledging that your creativity comes from a place of positivity, but as well as negativity. So here's the morel mushroom. This is the king and queen coming out. Morel is in the reverse, buckwheat being in the upright. So this kind of tells me, like, there needs to be, okay, I don't know why I'm actually, this is a mushroom, has nothing to do with underwater life, just so you know. But I am seeing a moray eel for some reason. It's like too much electricity from an electric moray eel can kind of kill, like, so certain species, I guess is what the point is, okay? Certain species have a proclivity or a natural inclination towards creativity. The musicians, the artists, the dreamers, the think tank kind of people, those are here, bubbling right under the surface, right? And what this vibrato and competition do is bring in a coral. Now this morel mushroom is taking on a quarrelsome kind of feel to it. This is the branching of your family tree into this quarrelsome kind of, like, almost catty. It's just because the mushroom is in reverse. So I'm just seeing like real catty, downward, like not, this is negative energy. This is taking shots at each other. This is shot for shot. I'm gonna take a shot at this person's livelihood, try to discredit them and their reputation. Who does that? We're adults. This is supposed to be something we're actually trying to model for the children. And this is what they watch on TV when the leaders of their country are competing against each other. You're competing for the same position. May the best man win. Okay? Like, may the best man win, because this is not, may the best man win. I'm just going to keep saying it. There's no women and children included in that sentence. First and foremost. This is the acai berry, dang it, I just put back the king and the queen. We had the morel and the buckwheat, which is now coming out with the acai. So all I probably don't need to go through and find these. What I do want to say is that acai berry is very antioxidant. Must be harvested by hand, as acai palm trees can be as high as 60 feet. It's not going to focus on that. All I know is that if you have a 60-foot tree and you're trying to gather tiny little berries off of it, you probably shouldn't be like, have you ever seen people that go hunting by using a shotgun? I mean, not hunting. Of course they go hunting with a shotgun. Who go fishing with a shotgun or with an electric taser. Just tase the water and like a whole bunch of fish float to the surface. That's, for some reason, I'm seeing that right there. All these fish floating to the surface. When you have a 60-foot tall tree, sometimes you either have to use whatever means possible, or you've got to be very specific and precise. You have to know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, all you're doing is causing a mass grave for multiple fish that you probably can't even finish eating. That is the moray eel approach, is to tase the water. Some other people, like I said, could use a net, like a huge net, a fishing net. Other people could use a regular fishing pole. Yeah, this is fenugreek. I do just want to say this is the feng shui of fishing. That's so weird. This is a strange download, but that is the feng shui of fishing. So do you use a net? Do you use a rod? Do you use a taser? Do you use a shotgun? Do you use your bare hands and a spear? There is no feng shui when it comes to how to climb as well as level a 60-foot building. Okay. Those are the footprints. You know, on a climbing wall, they have the toe holds and the hand holds. Those are the ones you're going to want on the 60-foot building. I'm just telling you, you're going to get to a height, to a level with your gifts or lack thereof, and you're going to want some handholds, especially if the only thing that is actually available for you at that point, that height, is to compete loudly. Bravado competition. You're going to want some creative outlets. You know when a street is an outlet and when it is not? Is when it goes through or when it does not. the cul-de-sac. This is the culling of your mind. So if you were to think of the entire, myelin sheath around your brain as the cul-de-sac, this is the feng shui cleaning of all of the antioxidants needed within your nutrient system in order to thrive. That's what that is. Here's peanuts, just dropped out, number 10. Tell me why peanuts just came out. In fact, I'm just gonna switch decks. Okay, St. John's wort just came out. At the bottom of this deck is number 6, so something about 6 and 10. Then there's also gonna be something significant here. I can kind of just feel that. Boredom. This is crazy boredom. That's what I was trying to say. Yep, here's pleasure again. So when we're talking about competition and bravado, and those are the only two options that you have from here on out. If you had to marry somebody who is constantly competing with you, like you're in a constant loving competition, right? Whatever that means. So for the rest of your life, you're going to be married to someone who's competing with you mentally, physically, spiritually, or otherwise. Or you're going to be married to somebody who's boisterously loud. Bravado on 100,000, okay? Cannot at all tone it down. Which one would you choose? Because it's a similar question to, would you choose a beautiful woman, gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous woman who treats you like crap? Or would you choose an ugly woman who treats you like a king or a queen that you are? Same difference. Also could ask the question of, would you prefer to have somebody fall madly in love with you and you don't love them back? Or would you prefer that they don't love you back in the opposite situation? That's what this is. The question can be asked before the answer, or the answer can be given before the question is even asked. Doesn't matter, you're still finishing each other's sentences. Does that make sense? How the competition and the bravado does not make sense when you can finish each other's sentences? When you are your own sentence? When you always have been? That's all. That's all. That is all I'm saying about this, okay? I think a lot of people are bored, and when we look forward to the future of politics, of ourselves, of our mentality, of our capabilities as humans, it would be so wonderful to have, 3 subjects that are not politics, gender politics, and romance politics constantly shoved down my throat, in my face, or whatever. Maybe we could just talk about, the worth of ourselves as human beings and what kind of message we're leaving. What if we had one chance, one time capsule for us to send forth a knowing to the future? Yeah. Oh. What would it be, right? And there it is. This is soul purpose, number 29. What is the sole purpose and reason that we are here? I'll give you like one guess. It's interesting to me that closeness came out because it's number 5. I am just going to say 5 is kind of the number of knowing. So in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, this bad mammy jammy, 5 of Pentacles in the upright denotes being left out in the cold. It denotes being excluded, avoided, unsuspecting, naive, somewhat stupid. This is number 5 in reverse, which means the opposite of all those things. Your soul's purpose came here for the knowledge. You came here to know who you are, so that on your next soul quest, you can figure out the powers, the intrinsic blooming, blossoming, booming nature that lives inside of yourself rather than outside. Maybe it's so that you can realize words are just as constricting as religion, you know, society, and every other institutional thought. This is friendship. Friendship. You don't need to be... There are some friends that you don't need to talk to every single day. In fact, those are usually the better friends that you've got. The best friends that you've got are the ones that you don't have to speak to on any regular occasion and every time that you contact one another. That closeness, that bond, that knowing of one another, you don't have to reiterate it. It is already there. This closeness in reverse says your unicorn is so very close to you. In this case, it's the knowledge that your long distance friend has your back more than the ones that live in the same zip code as you do, the same area code that you do. It's literally knowing that. It's understanding the depth of the relationship. What would I do for this friendship? What have I done for this friendship? How could I contribute in the future to this friendship? Or do I even want to? This is taking the leap of faith away from the friendship enough to realize your own soul's purpose, which is this closeness being in reverse is right there. It's the leap of faith. It's, you know, people grow apart. They grow apart. Usually they're brought together by a circumstance, a situation, or whatever life event happened. I went to a party. I went to college. I heard of a friend through a mutual friend. What happens then is your choice. And if you're always chasing your soul purpose, I think that's why people say things like, oh, you'll meet your kingdom husband or your kingdom. I don't really believe in all that, to be quite honest with you, but I get what they mean. That if your soul purpose is what you're chasing at all times, rather than being close with friends or close with institutional thought processes or society for that matter, instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Kardashians or your own friends and family, whoever those might be, this is about you realizing that there's some type of soul suffering. Do you know when people say, oh, I'm long suffering? I've never understood that. Like, if you've been suffering for a while, then move. Or get yourself out of the situation. Or whatever the case. Unless the suffering is worth something much greater than yourself. So this is self-control. If you're suffering for self-control, yeah, that would be you not feeling very close to your soul purpose, or taking a leap away from friends, or just suffering in general. But this denotes that the suffering comes from not being able to perceive, to pursue, or to even intuitively register your soul purpose as it pertains to self-control. What if there were people that could teach you things like technological things, or scientific things, biometrics, or some type of quantum mechanic that could change the entire world? Do you think that we're even ready for that kind of like time? There's multiple different energy sources. I will just say that the energy source that comes from the earth itself, and plants, animals, minerals, you know, any resource that you could think of, those are all naturally made. And so if we're going to agree, yeah, here's cranberry in reverse. I disagree with the fact that all of this is here for us to be religious about, or to kill each other religiously about. If it's going to take saying that science is the only answer because it's more empirical and less emotionally invested than religion, go for it. At this point, there's not really like gonna be a definitive answer because there's so many different caveats. Here comes the Akai. This is cranberry in reverse with the Akai in reverse again. Okay, and then we have nettle. So this is number 4, the letter J, and the number 9. Nettle is in the upright here, is in the 3rd position. And it just says, useful remedy for treating painful muscles and joints. Then we also have soy, which was in reverse when it came out. What I do want to say about that is that, you know, if you know different languages, you know, I've already gone on my rampages about those. Soy means I am in Spanish. I am in English is MR. Is MR. I don't know if any of you listen to ASMR. I don't know. All I can tell you is that this kind of prickly feeling on the nettle, it's necessary because the cranberry and the Akai have turned in the reverse. This one just fell on the floor. Cranberry just went on under the table. So let's just say, you know, if your home is in high, oh my God, this cranberry does not want to be in my hand. So if cranberry and Akai are both, let me read this cranberry card since it wants to jump out. Cranberry, we're eating on long sea voyages to prevent scurvy. We're eating on long sea voyages to prevent scurvy. To prevent scurvy? No scurvy up in here. Okay, so all I'm trying to say is that this antioxidant process does, I mean, they always say, you know, the truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off first. That's what this is. It's also the long walk home. It's also the long suffering. It's also the long trip through a field of nettles that is going to rip you up. They need their protection just like you do. And in the future, hopefully that's what we can leave for our children, is a legacy that does not leave them completely bereft of morals, values, protection, and any other type of restful, peaceful mindset. But instead, I hope that we can take a leap of faith using the foundations, the Constitution with which we've already proceeded, and change things so that they are no longer is, am, are, or were. You know what I mean? Like, no one needs to be a has-been anymore. The idea of such is just old. It's outdated. This suffering from not knowing your life purpose and not ever having a higher understanding of science, power, religion, art. I don't care which aspect of life you take into account, but it seems like it's going to be the defining moment for us as human beings, is definitely going to be the ability to showcase as well as present or offer your personal spiritual gifts, your mental gifts with other people. If bartering ever came back, what would you have to offer? Can you knit? Do you know how to shear a lamb? Do you know multiple languages? Can you manifest in multiple different ways with different groups of people in a way that is appropriate for that setting? Are you able to accommodate not only yourself, but other people and their suffering, their long suffering? Are you able to fit into your busy schedule the needs, the wants, the desires, as well as the bitching, moaning, complaining, and suffering of other people? That's the question. It doesn't have so much to do with what we're capable of. I already know we're capable of far greater things than we've ever even been able to fathom. Yeah, there's victory. That's what I'm saying. It's there. I literally want to stop this reading pretty quick, because between this Queen of Pentacles, this is victory number 15. Yeah. And there's appreciation at the bottom of the deck. So I want to appreciate what we could be. That was the point of this reading, and it was really long, but I'm just trying to also reiterate in as many different ways, just like a pastor or priest would, I suppose, the same point over and 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 over again. Because everyone deserves that. This victorious appreciation of self. This is self-actualization. This is self-realization. This is the ability to manifest. You think it. Oh my God, I didn't even notice what was sitting right on the bottom of the deck. But it is survival. So we now have number 40, number 15, and number 19 on the table with the Queen of Pentacles here in the periphery. Let's see. We have the pyramid, bottom of the deck here. It is in reverse technically, but it's because it's in the past and we're building future. So I'm going to keep it in the upright. There's really nothing else I could add to this to yet again confirm what I already knew. So I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that this was helpful to someone else besides just myself. I do plan on upping the ante on all of this, really. Really just to help humanity. I'm not so much concerned anymore about individual ridiculous agendas that I don't need to worry about. So I don't think anyone in the future should be long suffering in that way either. I think they should be long happy, long living, maybe. Those are all appropriate given the appreciation of victory. I don't know what it is about valedictorian, but I feel like I should stop here.